Hare Krishna. So, I'd like to welcome all the devotees for the Gita Sandesh program. Today, we are discussing the 8th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So, before we start the chapter, let us do the Mangalachala. Om Ajnana-timirandasya Jnana-Jana-Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine नाम श्रेष्ठम मनुमपि सचीपुत्रम अत्र स्वरूपम रूपम दस्याग्रजम उरुपुरीं मातुरीं गोष्ठवातीं राधा कुंडम गिरिवरमहो राधिका माधवाशां प्राप्तो यस्य परितकृपया श्रीगुरुं तं नतोऽस्मि। कृष्णादन्यमजानत क्षणमपि स्वप्नेऽपि विश्वेश्वरे तस्मिन् भक्तिमहैतुकीं विदधतो हृत्काय वाग्भि सदा श्रीलान् सद्गुणपुञ्जकेलिनिलयान् प्रेमावतारानहं वन्दे भागवतानि माननुलवन् मूर्ध्नानि पत्यक्षितौ आजानुलम्बित भुजौ कनकावदातौ संकीर्तनैकपितरौ कमलायताक्षौ विश्वम्भरौ द्विजवरौ युगधर्मपालौ वन्दे जगत्प्रियकरौ करुणावतारौ जयतां सुरतौ पंगोर्मम मन्दमतेर्गति मत्सर्वस्व पदाम्बोजौ राधामदनमोहनौ नीलाचल निवासाय नित्याय परमात्मने बलभद्र सुभद्राभ्यां जगन्नाथाय ते नमः। Hare Krishna. So we have completed first chapter. The second chapter where Krishna is saying you should fight. Third chapter Krishna says perform karma yoga and fight. Then fourth chapter he says slash ignorance with knowledge and fight. Fifth chapter Krishna says perform karma yoga with knowledge. That means karma yoga with jnana and fight. Sixth chapter Krishna said be a yogi and fight. Seventh chapter he said gain jnana and vijnana and fight. Now we have come to the 8th chapter. So this chapter, 8th chapter, has been named by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada as Bhagavat Prapti Yoga or attaining the Supreme. Yes. So we can, in nutshell, tell the summary of this entire 8th chapter as remember me always and fight. That's the final point which Krishna tells at the end of this chapter. Tasmat sarveshu kalyeshu mam anusmaryuddesha. Always remember me and fight. That means always be in yoga and fight. Always be in connection with the Supreme Lord. It is not that being spiritual is something separate from what we do daily, right? Being spiritual can be at every moment and at every time, in every situation. So that's what Krishna is saying, that the sarveshu kalyeshu mama smaradesha. So always at every point of time remember me and fight. That's what Krishna is saying. So sometimes we think that our spiritual activities are separate and material activities are separate, but actually if we are even more advanced further, we can see that all are connected to the Lord. And while doing even our material activities, we can actually keep thinking of the Lord. So Krishna is telling to Arjuna, even while fighting, you keep remembering me, you keep thinking of me, and you fight. So in the last two verses of the previous chapter, Lord Krishna said, those yogis striving for freedom from birth and death, who take shelter of me, they know Brahman, Adhyatma, Karma, Adibhutam, Adidaivam, Adiyagnaha. Fixed in yoga, they will know me even at the time of death. Now, Arjuna is asking a question. Krishna, you told all these things, Brahman, Adhyatma, Karma, Adibhutam, Adidaivam, they know, all the great devotees, Nitya Muktas, they know all these things. But what are these things? He started asking here. And this is a brief mind map of the 8th chapter. We will discuss these in detail now. So it starts with Arjuna's questions. The first and second verses, they're basically Arjuna's questions, where he's asking about Brahman, Adhyatma, Adibhuta, Karma, Adidaiva, Adiyagna. What are they? He's asking to explain in detail. Arjuna uvacha kim tad brahma kim adhyatman kim karma purushottama adibhutam chak kim proktam adidaivam kimuchyate. Is asking, what are all these things? Brahman, Adhyatma, Karma, Adibhutam, Adidaivam. What are they? Adiyagna katam kotra dehesmin madhusudana prayana kale cha katam neyosi niyatatma bihi. She's saying, who is Adiyagna? Who is Koatra Dehosman? Who is he known in the body? Who are you to be known at the point of death by practitioners of yoga? Why at the point of death someone has to remember you? Yeah? He's asking Krishna to answer these questions. So being asked, the Lord replies to these 7 questions now, one by one. What is Brahman? So what is Brahman? Jiva, or it is God, Brahman, because the Jiva is also part and parcel of God. Both are actually the Brahman. But the difference between Jiva and God is that Jiva is Anu. Okay, so there is a qualitative similarity between Jiva and God. Both are qualitatively the same. Jivatma is Sachidananda, God is also Sachidananda. But what is the difference? Jiva is Anu, means it is quantitatively very minute, whereas Supreme Lord is quantitatively ultimate. He is Vibhu, he is everything. So this example is given by Srila Prabhupada that ocean water. Say for example, take an ocean water. The drop of ocean water, the quality is the same as that of the entire ocean. The quality is the same. It has almost the same salty, and the contents and everything. It is the same drop of water. But in the ocean, there are fishes, there are whales, and so many things in the ocean. Whereas in the drop of water, we don't find anything. So that is the difference between the Jiva and God. So our philosophy is Achintya Bheda Abheda Tattva. So some philosophies, like they say that there is no difference between God and Jivatma. That is like the impersonal people. And those there are some people who says that there is no commonality between Jiva and God. Both are completely different. There are some philosophers, Dvaitavad, who are like that. But actual philosophy, which is given by Krishna, which is the actual truth, the Sanatana Dharma, which is the ultimate full understanding, is that it is Achintya, Abheda, Bheda and Abheda Tattva. So Achintya means it's inconceivable, inconceivably similar and different. So it's both. That we have to understand. Inconceivably. How it is both similar and how they are both different. So that's what I have just given an example of drop of the ocean and the ocean. That's similar, easy to understand. Yeah. So what is Adhyatma? It is the self. Adhyatma means it is the self or the nature. This is Swabhava, which we discussed in the the third chapter, third, fourth, fifth chapters. Yeah. Then what is karma? Karma is routine activities or scriptural injunctions. So it is routine activities which is basically the scriptural injunctions. So there are multiple meanings in which we use the karma, right? So what is adhibhutam? It is the material body or material nature. What is adidaivam? It is demigods or universal form, daiva. Hmm? The the higher power that is called as adidaiva. And adiyagna, what is that? It is Vishnu, or at demigods level it is Indra. So 3 to 4. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Aksharam Brahma Paramam Svabhavo Adhyatmamuchyate Bhuto Bhavodbhava Karo Visarga Karma Samnitaha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, the indestructible living, transcendental living entity is called Brahman. Aksharam Brahmam Brahma Paramam. Okay. His nature, that is impressions which accompany the jiva, is called adhyatma. So we discussed also that how the jivatma is covered by the impressions, man buddhi hankar, which is the subtle body. It is also called as sukshma sharir, correct? So that is actually the adhyatma, sabhava. Action pertaining to the development of the material bodies of the living entities is called karma, fruitive activities, karma. So I was saying that at very various points of Bhagavad Gita, the same Brahman is implied in different ways. Brahman at a point of time implies the Brahma Jyoti. Brahman at a point of time implies the Supreme Lord. Brahman at a point of time implies the Jivatma. Like that. Adibhutam Ksharo Bhavaha Purushascha Adiyagno Aham Evatra Dehe Deha Vritamvara. O best of the embodied beings, the physical nature which is constantly changing is called Adibhuta. That is a material manifestation. Sometimes you see summer, sometimes you see winter, sometimes you see rains, sometimes you see pralaya, sometimes you see everything is peaceful. Yeah. So this is the Adibhuta, material manifestation. The universal form of the Lord, which includes all the demigods, like those of the sun and moon, is called Adi Daiva. That is the higher power, Daiva. And I, the Supreme Lord, represented as a super soul in the heart of every embodied being, I am called Adiyagna. That means the Lord of the sacrifice. That means ultimately our sacrifice goes to the Supreme Lord. So this is example given. Just like we pay the tax, right? So there might be many tax collectors. We might pay sometimes tax to the shops, sometimes tax to the collector, sometimes tax to the state government, house tax, property tax, many things. Ultimately, this tax goes to the final treasure of India. And who is the master? I mean, the highest power in the country? That is the Prime Minister for India, for example, or President for other countries, right? So Krishna is compared to the Lord of the sacrifice. Yagno vai Vishnu. That is why any yagnas, all different kinds of yagnas which all the devatas perform, ultimately the yagna Purusha is Vishnu. It actually goes to Vishnu only. That's why Krishna is called Yagneshwara, one of the names of Krishna. Now there is a seventh question which Arjuna asked, that how do great people remember you at the time of death? Antakale cha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram yaprayati samadbhavam yati nasti atra samshayaha. At the time of death, he who leaves the body remembering me attains a nature like mine. Yeah. So at the time of death, if you remember Krishna, then you attain the nature like that of Krishna. Of this there is no doubt. Yati nasti atra samshayaha. Nasti samshaya. Don't have any doubt on this. So at the time of death, if one remembers you, they will attain your nature. That's fine, Sabhava. Then if one remembers something else, then what is the destination? Krishna is saying. यम यम वापि स्मरन् भावं त्यजत्यन्ते कलेवरं tam tam evaiti kaunteya sada tad bhava bhavitah. So, yesterday also we discussed the story of Bharat Maharaj. Disika Mataji, she had asked this question. So, we discussed in detail about it, right? So, at the time of death, whatever a person remembers, that kind of state one will attain. But if a person remembers Krishna, that's what Krishna is saying in the previous verse, then he attains Krishna. He attains the planet of the Lord. He attains the body like that of the Lord. Yeah. He's saying, Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mam anusmarayudhya cha mai arpita mano buddhir mam evaishyasi asamshayaha. Therefore, he's saying that death can come at any time. So, therefore, always keep thinking of me. So, why Krishna is saying, we were discussing in the beginning that always remember me and fight. Why Krishna is saying like that? Because he's saying death can come at any point of time. So, therefore, always keep thinking of me. Huh? At the same time, you have to carry out your prescribed duty. So, example is given, just like the person who businessman is there, he's driving a car, right? Even while driving the car, he'll think about um, putting petrol in the car, putting air in the tires. Yeah, he thinks about whether it's clean or not, whether the engine is hot or not. But at the same time, he'll be thinking about uh, traffic rules. Yes. At the same time, he'll also keep thinking about how to expand his business. He'll keep thinking of various ideas, right? The same manner, the person who is performing his duties, regular duties in this world, prescribed duties, he should always keep thinking about spiritual advancement. He should keep thinking about the Supreme Lord. He should, at every point of time, he should be fixed in thought of the Lord. At least a person should try, right? Yeah. So with your activities dedicated to me and your mind and intelligence fixed on me, you will attain me without doubt. Repeated remembrance leads to remembrance at death. So this is what Krishna says in next verse. So we have to. So someone might tell, automatically you might get a question that how we can always think about Krishna. That is impractical. It is not possible because we have to focus on other things. So here Krishna is saying, Abhyasa yoga yuktena chetasa nanya paramam purusham divyam yati pardhanu chintayan. He's saying that abhyasa, that is, do the practice. If you do practice now, trying to remember every point of time. So in a practice stage, you won't be able to become perfect. It will take time. Sometimes you'll remember, sometimes you won't remember. You'll at least you'll make a attempt to remember always. Yes. Then what happens? That will cause you remembrance at the time of death. Even at the time of death, you'll be able to remember me. So example is given, just like a caterpillar. A caterpillar thinks of becoming a butterfly, right? So when a caterpillar is in the cocoon, it'll keep thinking about becoming a butterfly. So because it thinks about becoming a butterfly, it eventually becomes a butterfly. And then it breaks the cocoon and comes out. So like this, an example is given that if we practice abhyasa, do abhyasa every day, every point of time, then we will be able to remember Krishna at the time of death. Yeah. So how yogis know Krishna at the time of death? So then question comes, who are these yogis? Those who practice yoga. So their karma yogis are there, jnana yogis are there, ashtanga yogis are there, bhakti yogis are there. All of them are there, right? Then how yogis know Krishna at the time of death? By remembrance. They remember Krishna at the time of death. How one can remember Krishna at the time of death? By remembering Krishna every day, even by throughout life, a person tries to remember. Therefore, he'll be able to remember at the time of death. How to remember Krishna repeatedly? By practicing yoga. So how to practice yoga? By following rules and regulations pertaining to particular yoga and performing sadhana under the direction of a bona fide spiritual master. This Krishna is going to tell now. How yogis remember Krishna. Kavim Puranam Anushasitaram Anuraniyamsam Anusmaredya Sarvasya Dhataram Achintya Rupam Aditya Varnam Tamasa Parastat. One should remember, one should meditate upon the Supreme Person as the one who knows everything. So, how a person should think about the Lord? He should think that he knows everything. He is the oldest. He is the controller. He is smaller than the smallest. Anuraniyam. Yeah. Who is maintainer of everything. Who is beyond all material conception. He is inconceivable. Achintya Rupam. And he is always a person. Aditya Varnam. He is luminous like that of the sun. He is transcendental. Beyond this material nature. Tamasa. Paras. A person has to remember the Lord. You have to remember that the Supreme Lord is inconceivable. He is beyond material nature. He is effulgent like the sun. Yeah, he is the controller. He is the starting point. He is the oldest. He knows everything. Yeah, in this way, we have to understand the qualities of the Lord and meditate upon the Lord. Prayana kale manasachalena bhaktya yukto yoga balena chaiva bhrur madhye pranam avesha samyak satam param purusham upaiti divyam. One who at the time of death fixes his life air between the eyebrows and by the strength of yoga with an undeviating mind engages himself in remembering the Supreme Lord in full devotion. Bhaktya yukto yoga balena chaiva. Just see how much Krishna is actually stressing on bhakti. Yeah. But unfortunately, so many commentaries on Bhagavad Gita are there who do not even for a tinge, you know, even a tinge of stress they don't put on bhakti. But just see how much Krishna is speaking about bhakta, bhaktya. Yeah. This shows that importance. This is what Srila Prabhupada has given Bhagavad Gita as it is. What Krishna exactly spoke, that is what Krishna, our Srila Prabhupada has presented in the Bhagavad Gita as it is. Yeah. So bhakti is very, very glorious. Whereas many other people, like the Mayavadis, impersonalists, they say bhakti is performed by those who are very, very weak, who are very, very emotional, who cannot study the scriptures. That's what they say. That's what they diminish the position of bhakti, whereas Krishna, you see over here, how much is glorifying the process of bhakti. Yeah. So bhakti is actually not for sentimentalists. There are many, many acharyas, even if you see our acharyas like Baldev Vidya Bhushan, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Jiva Goswami, and Shadu Goswamis, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, all of them are very, very scholarly people. It's not that bhakti is for those who are emotional kind of people, or who are sentimental people, who cannot read scriptures so much. It is not like that. You see, many of our acharyas are much, much glorious. They have written huge works. If you see, even our Srila Prabhupada, he had started writing these Bhaktivedanta purports and books at the time of at the age of 70, right? And he lived till 81 years. And in that 11 years, he had written 80 books, right? If you see all the Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, he's translated. He's the first person to translate into English. There was no person who has translated all these things into English. All were there in Bengali translations or Sanskrit translations, but no Hindi translations were there. But English, no one has done, and he has done it, and it's not a common activity. It's very a voluminous activity. He has even translated the Chaitanya Charitamrita into English, and then even in his lifetime, all these English translations were further converted into many other languages like Hindi, Telugu, Tamil, and many other things, right? Many other languages. So we can see they are not just sentimental people who are just saying Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. They are also well known, well studied, well knowledgeable, quite very scholarly people, and with full knowledge, they have understood Krishna as supreme, and therefore they have surrendered to Krishna. Yes. यदक्षरं वेदविदो वदन्ति विशन्ति यद्यतयो वीतरागः यदिच्छन्तो यदिच्छन्तो ब्रह्मचर्यं चरन्ति तत्ते पदं संग्रहेण प्रवक्ष्ये. Persons who are learned in the Vedas, who utter Omkara, and who are great sages in the renounced order, enter into Brahman. Desiring such perfection, one practices celibacy. I shall now briefly explain to you this process by which one may attain salvation. So Krishna is telling about yoga abhyasa, how celibacy is there and how they utter the Omkara and many things. सर्वद्वाराणि संयम्य मनोहृदि निरुध्य च मूर्ध्नि आधायात्मनः प्राणम् आस्थितो योगधारणाम्. The yogic situation is that of detachment from all sensual engagements, closing all the doors of the senses and fixing the mind on the heart and the life air at the top of the head. One establishes himself in yoga. So this is actually a typical way in which yogis they leave the body. Okay, at the time of death. So Krishna is describing and discussing the situation at the time of death, how people leave the body. So he is talking about a typical yogis. But for a bhakti yogi, I mean a devotee who is there, he doesn't have to endeavor so much like this. He doesn't have to think about focusing on the nostrils. He doesn't have to lift the Shata chakras, the chakra yoga. He doesn't have to think about all those things. He, out of sweet, bhakti, I mean sweet remembrance he has of the Supreme Lord, of Krishna. Krishna himself takes care of all these things and he takes the soul with him. Right? So for a devotee, everything is taken care by Krishna. So Krishna is wanting to show that contrast. So first he is discussing about yogis, how they have to endeavor so much and how it is so technically they have to leave the body. ओमिति एकाक्षरं ब्रह्म व्याहरन् मामनुस्मरन् यः प्रयाति त्यजन् देहान् sayati paramam gatim. After being situated in this yoga practice and vibrating the sacred syllable Om, the supreme combination of letters, if one thinks of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and quits his body, he will certainly reach the spiritual planets. So there are many spiritual planets like Vaikunta, Ayodhya, Dwaraka, Mathura, and all the holy places actually exist in the spiritual world. There are different planets which are there. So a person can go according to his remembrance, what kind of remembrance he has of the Supreme Lord. He can go to that kind of planet. Now, Krishna is showing the contrast. How devotees remember Krishna. Ananya cheta satatam yomam smarati nityasaha tasyaham sulabha partha nitya yuktasya yoginaha. For one who always remembers me without deviation, I am very easy to obtain. O son of Pratha, because of his constant engagement in devotional service, nitya yuktasya yoginaha, ananya cheta, yeah, without deviation, satatam, always, who is yo mam smaranti, one who is always thinking of me, nitya saha. Okay, so if one has to remember the Supreme Lord, smarana, if one has to do, that means the Lord has to have qualities. The Lord has to have some activities. Otherwise, how is it possible to remember always and meditate on Him? Right? And this meditation is not like the impersonal meditation. This meditation, this smarana can't be done to impersonal light, impersonal effulgence. That is not remembrance. One can meditate on it, but one cannot do the smarana. That's why Krishna is saying yo mam smarana, means it is actually smarana of his leelas, of his qualities, of his devotees. So this is bhakti yoga. मामुपेत्य पुनर्जन्म दुःखालयम् अशाश्वतं नाप्नुवन्ति महात्मानः संसिद्धिं परमां गतः. So he says मामुपेत्य, so they attain me, they come to me. Punarjanma dukkhalayam ashashvatam napnuvanti, they don't have to take another birth in this material world. Mahatmanaha, who come to me? The great souls, they come to me. Samsiddhim paramam gataha, there is the highest perfection. Attaining me, coming to me, is the highest perfection. आ ब्रह्मा भुवनालोका पुनरावर्तिनो अर्जुन मामपेत्य तु कौन्तेय पुनर्जन्म न विद्यते. So he's saying आ ब्रह्मा भुवनालोका, from Brahma Loka to the Bhuvana Loka, that is all the hellish planets, yeah, all the lower planets. So from lower planets to the highest planet, which is Brahma Loka, Punaravartino Arjuna, everywhere there is repeated birth and death. But Mamapeti Kaunteya Punarjanma. If you come, but someone who comes to my abode, okay, my Loka, then there is no Punarjanma. Those remember Krishna attain the eternal spiritual world beyond the ephemeral material world. So here Krishna was saying that how this world is Dukkhalaya Mashashvatam, the second line if you see 8.15. But here and he's saying my abode is not like that. So Krishna's abode is not Dukkhalaya, it is Sukhalaya. It is not Ashashvatam, it is Shashvatam. Sahasrayuga Paryantam Aharyat Brahmano Viduhu Ratrim Yuga Sahasrantam Te Teho Ratra Vidojana. Those who know that a day of Brahma lasts 1000 cycles and also know that a night of Brahma lasts 1000 Yuga cycles are knowers of the day and night of Brahma. So this is the day and night of Brahma. So it is said, Kali Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, Treta Yuga, Satya Yuga is there. Kali Yuga is 4,32,000 years. Dwapara Yuga is twice of that. Treta Yuga is thrice of that. Satya Yuga is 4 times of that. And Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, Kali Yuga together, you can see over here. It is called as a Divya Yuga, or it is called as a Yuga cycle, right? Which is 4.32 million years. And like that, 1000 of such Sahasra Yuga, means here Yuga means Divya Yuga. Sahasra Yuga Paryantam. Ahar Yad Brahmano. Ahar means day. So Ratri. Ratrim Yuga Sahasrantam. So the night of Brahma is also 1000 Divya Yugas. So in this way it becomes 24 hours of Brahma. Yeah. So 24 hours of Brahma is 1000 and 1000. 2000 Divya Yugas or Yuga cycles. That is 24 hours. Like that, he has 365 days, which constitute 1 year, and like that, he lives for 100 years. So, what is the lifespan of Brahma, which is given in the Bhagavatam? You see, that is 311 trillion years. That is the lifespan of Brahma. 311 trillion years. Yeah. Avyaktaad व्यक्तयः सर्वा प्रभवन्ति अहरागमे रात्रि आगमे प्रलीयन्ते तत्रैवाव्यक्त सम्यके. So what happens in the night of Brahma? Then becomes pralaya. That means there is full covering of fire, full covering of water, and there will be no jivas, there will be no living entities. Everything will be submerged in water, the Garbhodaka water. Yeah. Pralaya, that is the time of pralaya, destruction. Yeah. Again, when Brahma wakes up, then creation again starts. भूतग्राम स एवायं भूत्वा भूत्वा प्रलीयते रात्रि आगमे वश पार्थ प्रभवति अहरागमे. Again and again, when Brahma's day arrives, all living entities come into being, and with the arrival of Brahma's night, they are helplessly annihilated. Annihilation, creation. Annihilation, creation. Like that. Brahma's day, creation. Brahma's night, annihilation. Like that it goes on. Then Brahma also will die after his 100 years. What will happen? He enters into Mahavishnu. Then Mahavishnu inhales all the universes. Then again Mahavishnu exhales. When he exhales, then again universes are created. Then a Brahma is born in every universe. Again that Brahma will live for 100 years. This is how the how the whole thing will go on. You see the greatness of Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita, how they are able to describe about higher beings. They're able to describe about Brahma. They're talking about time. I mean, the scope of time, the time of destruction, annihilation. They are not saying like the scientists are saying probably the universe was created these many years back, probably you know uh, this at this time, at this point of time, there was some destruction, and probably the universe came by Big Bang theory, or it came from steady multi-universe theory, and they have like thousands of theories like that. But Shastra is not like that. Shastra is giving with details. It is giving authoritatively. It is not changing over time. So that gives the credibility to Shastra, our Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, and our Vedas. They are not saying that sorry, we made some mistake. We had given a wrong number. Now we will change the number again. They are not saying like that. Whereas science will keep on changing. They say gravity is this much. Then they'll say no, again it has changed. Oh, no, again it has changed. So this is imperfect science which we are there. Okay. So we must understand the greatness of the Vedas, the authority of the Vedas, the scope of the Vedas. परस्तस्मास्तु भावोऽन्यो व्यक्तो व्यक्तात् सनातनः यस्य सर्वेषु भूतेषु नश्य नश्यत्सु न विनश्यति. Superior to the unmanifested state of Brahma's night is another unmanifest object which is eternal, which is not destroyed even when everything else is destroyed. So he's saying that parastasmastu bhavanyo, he's saying that there is one object, there is one loka which is there, which is mind, that is sanatanaha, that is not destroyed in the night of Brahma. Yeah, even when everything is destroyed, that is not destroyed. That is what avyakto akshara iti yuktas tam ahu paramam gatim yam prapya na nivartante tadhama paramam mama. He's saying that he's talking about his nature. Krishna is talking about his dhama, paramam mama. He's saying that is my place, yeah, which is eternal and unmanifest. Yeah. So whoever yam prapya na nivartante tadhama paramam. So whoever attain my abode, they don't come back to this material world. They don't return. Na nivartante. Purushasya parah parda bhaktya labhyastu ananyaya yasyanta sthani bhutani yena sarvam idam tatam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is greater than all, is attainable by unalloyed devotion. Although he is present in his abode, he is all pervading and everything is situated within him. Okay. So Lord has his personal nature. Yeah, Bhagwan, which is who is present in the spiritual world, that is the Bhagwan aspect of the Lord. Yeah, he is attainable by unalloyed devotion. But at the same time, he is also present everywhere. How? As the Paramatma, he is expanded everywhere. He is watching everything. He is omniscient. He is omnipotent. Yeah, and he is omnipresent. He is all pervading as the Paramatma. With this feature of the Paramatma, he is pervading everywhere. He knows everything. But in his personal aspect, he is present in the Bhagavan, as Bhagavan in the spiritual world. Yatra kale tva anavrittim avrittim chaiva yoginah prayata yanti tam kalam pakshyami bharatrashabha. O best of the Bharatas, I shall now explain to you the different times at which, passing away from this world, the yogi does or does not come back. So it's going to describe what different times. At times when a yogi will attain the spiritual world, the times at which the yogi cannot attain the spiritual world. Agnir Jyotir Aha Shukla Shanmasa Uttarayanam Tatra Prayata Gachanti Brahma Brahma Vido Jana. Those who know the Supreme Brahman attain that Supreme by passing away from the world during the influence of the fiery god in the light. So even if you know Dakshinayana, Uttarayana, these are there in our calendar. The day of the demigods is called Uttarayana. the night of the demigods is called Lakshanayana, right? The first 6 months. So that becomes 1 year actually, the light. And at an auspicious moment of the day, during the fortnight of the waxing moon, or during the 6 months when the sun travels in the north. So this is when the sun travels in the north is called as Uttarayana, which is right now. This is Uttarayana time. And it goes till Ugadi time. And after Ugadi, again Dakshinayana starts, again Uttarayana, like that. Right? So that's 6 months. So 6 months of a human being is actually 1 day of the demigods, like Indra, Chandra, and all. That's 1 day for them. And then another 6 months of the year which we have is one night for them. So that is demigods day and night calculation. Right? So Krishna is saying that he's mentioning the conditions at which the person should pass away. धूमो रात्रिस्तथा कृष्ण षण्मासा दक्षिणायनम तत्र चंद्रमा संयोतिर yogi prapya nivartate. The mystic who passes away from this world during the smoke, the night, the fortnight of the waning moon, or the six months when the sun passes to the south, which is the moon planet, but again comes back. So he will go to the Swargalokas, but he will again have to come back to this material world. शुक्ल कृष्णे गति हेते जगत शाश्वते मते एकया याति अनावृत्तिम अनन्या vartate punaha. According to Vedic opinion, there are two ways of passing from this world: one in the light, one in the darkness. When one passes in light, he does not come back. When one passes in darkness, he returns. See, there's so much of science given actually. Devotees, what happened? नैतेष्टि पार्थ जानन् योगी मुह्यति कश्चन तस्मात् सर्वेषु कालेषु योगयुक्तो भवार्जुन. Although the devotees know these two paths, O Arjuna, they are never bewildered. Therefore, be always fixed in devotion. For a devotee, actually it doesn't matter whether he's going in Uttarayana or Dakshinayana, whether he's going in the daytime or the night time. It doesn't matter for him, because because he's always thinking of the Supreme Lord. Because the thought of the Supreme Lord is itself ultimately very auspicious. So Krishna takes care of the devotee at the time of death. So Ante Narayana Smriti, that is what it is said in the Shastra. Ante Narayana Smriti, at the time of death, if one can think of Narayana, then one becomes successful. His life becomes successful. So Krishna takes care of all these details. For a devotee, he doesn't have to think about, at what time I'm passing away. But yogis, they will think about all these things because they have faith on their capacities, on their practice of yoga, on their control of the senses, control of the prana. But for a devotee, he doesn't think about all that. He leaves his hands, he keeps his hands in the hands of Krishna and says, Krishna, it's up to you. You take care of me. Yeah. And Krishna takes care of the devotee. वेदेषु यज्ञेषु तपस्सु चैव दानेषु यत् पुण्यफलं प्रदिष्टम् अत्येति तत्सर्वम् idam viditva yogi param sthanam upaiti chadyam. Knowing my glories, the yogi surpasses all the pious results declared for study of the Vedas, performance of sacrifice and austerity, and giving in charity. Knowing all about myself and my devotee, that yogi attains my eternal attractive place. Vedeshu yagneshu tapassu chaiva. Knowing my glories, the yogi surpasses all pious results declared for study of the Vedas. He surpasses all pious results. He gets transcendental results. He doesn't get pious results. He gets transcendental results. Yeah. So knowing about myself, yeah, that person, the devotee, he attains my eternal attractive place. So lessons from the 8th chapter. So one should know Brahman, Parabrahman. One should know the difference between matter and spirit. So Krishna talked about Adidaivam, Adibhutam, Adhyatmam, right? by remembering Krishna at the time of death, one will attain Krishna. Karma yogis and jnana yogis may or may not attain Krishna in this life, because if they pass at the time of day, then they might attain, or if they don't pass at the time, then they may not attain, right? Ashtanga yogis can attain Krishna, but with a lot of difficulties. It's very tedious. It's very difficult to lift the chakras, to focus on the in between the eyebrows and lift the prana to the skull and leaving it from there. Yeah, that is very difficult. Devotees will attain Krishna very easily because they are always Krishna conscious. Even though a devotee is not able to remember Krishna at the time of death, Krishna will remember that devotee and take him back to Godhead. Whatever benefits, sorry, whatever benefits one gets from reciting Vedas, performing yajnas, doing tapasya, giving charity, one gets easily by doing devotional service. So all wonderful results which one gets by doing various activities of the karma kanda or Vedic thing, all the things which are described in the Vedas, one gets very easily all the results of that and much more by doing devotional service. And by doing devotional service, one can go back home, back to Godhead. One can go to the abode of the Supreme Lord. And in the abode of the Supreme Lord also, it is multifarious. This is described in the Bhagavatam. It is when we think that what must be in the spiritual world, right? The description is there in the Bhagavatam, in the 5th canto, the 3rd canto, right? 10th canto, we see the Leelas of Krishna. So that is what actually happens in the spiritual world. It is an active place, just like this place is there. It is a very, very active place. People are active there. There are also people. They have human bodies. There are also beautiful animals. All beautiful description is given in the Bhagavatam actually. One should read all these things, right? And there is full activity over there. But the difference is that there everyone is happy. They don't have the metal body like us, which is made up of blood, flesh, mucus, urine, stool, and all these things. And this body is temporary and it grows old, right? But that body is not like that. That body is always fresh. Yeah, it doesn't grow old. Yeah, and it doesn't release sweat and pus and stinky things like this. It's a very spiritual body, and there is only happiness over there. There is no distress over there, and the people over there have no tinge of envy in their heart. So those who have any tinge of envy, they have to be in this mental world. They are not qualified. They are not qualified to go to the spiritual world. But in the spiritual world, no one has any envy. They don't have these anarthas, lust, anger, greed, pride, illusion, envy. They don't have all these things. They are very, very pure hearted people. So if we purify our heart in this life by always practicing bhakti, chanting Hare Krishna, and thinking of Krishna at the time of death, then we will become qualified to enter into the spiritual world where we can always be happy. Yes. So with this, let us conclude the 8th chapter. We can open up for questions. One second. Yes. Who would like to ask questions? Subodh sir. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Subodh sir.
Guruji, I have a question not directly related to this chapter. Since nowadays this Navratri is going on, okay. My curiosity is here whether there is any type of relation or link between Srimad Bhagavatam or Devi Bhagavatam.
Any relation between
Srimad Bhagavatam or Devi Bhagavatam? Devi Bhagavatam.
Devi Bhagavatam.
Yeah.
Yeah, many people say there is Devi Bhagavatam and many things like that, but actually the Bhagavatam is the Bhagavatam which Shukadev Goswami has spoken to Parikshit Maharaj. That is the actual Bhagavatam. The actual Bhagavatam. Yeah. So I have actually not read the Devi Bhagavatam. I don't know what exactly is there in that. but the authentic Bhagavatam is the Bhagavatam which is spoken by Shukadeva Goswami to Parikshit
Parikshit
Maharaj.
Maharaj. Okay, धन्यवाद.
Hare Krishna. And any other questions? No questions? Yes, Jessica ma'am.
Guruji, I would like to ask, what is the reasoning after in this chapter 8 from the 8.20 to 8.28 verses? Was the pretext and the main reasoning behind the entire phrases that Krishna is trying to give as a message to Arjuna in a single statement? What could we say over here?
You are talking about 8.20
to 8.28, the final. What could be or probably a three-liner or a four-liner?
Yeah. So in essence, in essence,
the essence of the chapter.
Actually, the essence of the chapter is Krishna was talking about yogis and others also. Krishna is saying that actually the entire chapter expands the seventh question, where Krishna is asking about where Arjuna is asking about how to think about you at the time of death. So Krishna is telling that he's glorifying bhakti. So in one line, Krishna is saying that you always in this lifetime also think about me. Try to think about me always. Do the practice of thinking about me always. So by doing like that, at the time of death, you can think about me. And what are the benefits of thinking about me at the time of death? You can attain my abode. Then you don't have to take birth in this material world. That's what Krishna is saying ultimately. He's giving the goal, final goal actually over here, which is not given in the other chapters. Here is given that Madhama. He's talking about his planet, his loka, whereas he has not talked about that in the previous chapters. If you see, yeah. So this is the final goal you have to attain. So always think about me and do your prescribed duties. That's what Krishna is saying. Always try to
similar to the story of Anjana who was a very miserable person by nature, but in the end, during his deathbed, he remembered Krishna. So instead of Yam, Krishna came to receive him.
Yeah, it is Ajamila.
Yeah, Ajamila, right? Similar to Ajamila. A bit of a similarity, you can say. But over here, the person is a very renowned and a scholar, and over there, he's a very miserable and a very bad character.
Yeah, Ajamila was actually born in a good family. He was born in a good family. He was a Brahmana by birth, and he was raised in a very nice manner also. But at the point of time when he becomes, he sees. He sees, sorry. Yeah. So he sees a prostitute and Shudra, they were having some illicit affairs in the forest.
Right.
He sees that. And then what happens? He gets bewildered with that. And then he falls in love with that prostitute, and then he kicks off his wife, then he kicks off his parents, then he does all theft, all robberies and everything, right? And then with that prostitute, he'll have 10 children. So actually what happens is one fine day, at a point of time, some Vaishnavas, okay, great devotees, they happen to come to the house of Ajamila. So at that time, Ajamila was had his 10th son. Okay, and the son was just born and they have not yet kept the name. So when the wife, when the people, the sages, the Vaishnavas, they saw, so they said, have you named the child? Then they said, no. Then Ajamila said, you only can name the child. So what they did, they named the child as Narayana. So though he was actually a very sinful person, every day by calling his son the name Narayana, he was actually every day chanting the names of Narayana. So this was actually very intelligently done by the devotees. So the devotees very intelligently do, knowingly or unknowingly, they help us actually go closer to the Lord because they know the power of the holy names, they know the power of the Lord, the power of bhakti. So they didn't tell him that you chant every day like this. They just gave the name, the son's name as Narayana. So by that, Ajamila chanted Narayana every day. So by chanting like that, actually all the sinful activities which he has done in the past, all of them were vanquished by chanting of the Narayana. And at the time of death also, he was actually calling his son only, Narayana, please come and help me. These Yamadutas are coming and saving me. But Lord
That's
Vishnu,
right.
yeah, he was actually not conscious of Lord Vishnu. But Lord Vishnu sent the Yamadutas, um, he sent the Yamadutas, saying, he sent the Vishnu Dutas to stop the Yamadutas, saying that, he has uttered my name. So, he shouldn't go to hellish planets. So therefore, the Yamadutas were stopped, and Ajamila was given another birth and another chance to live, and he perfected his life, and then he went back to the spiritual world. So he also did sadhana. So it's not that accidentally he chanted and then he immediately went to Vaikuntha. It's not like that. He went immediately to Vaikuntha. He was given an extension to live. And then he had taken association of devotees, he practiced bhakti properly, and then when time came, the Vaikuntha planet came and he boarded the Vaikuntha plane. Vaikuntha plane came and he boarded the Vaikuntha plane and he went back to Vaikuntha. So that's the story actually.
Yes, I remember it so well now.
This is the Bhagavatam, 6th
Yeah.
canto.
Right.
Hmm.
I'm so happy to hear this again today.
Hmm.
It gives us a lesson and even a learner not to repeat such kind of instances or get even distracted in a manner like this.
Yeah, it gives that, and it also gives the message that the holy name of the Lord is very powerful.
Very
How it is
powerful.
very powerful. Even if accidentally chanted, there is a beautiful verse in that it says, Ranama Harir Nama Grihan Putropacharitam Ajamilopi Agadhama Kinkuda Shraddhaya. It says, accidentally by chanting the name of the Lord, Ajamila had attained the Vaikuntha even by accidentally chanting. What benefit a person will receive if he is daily chanting the names of the Lord? That's the verse which Sukadeva Goswami says in Bhagavatam. Yeah. Any other question?
Thank you, Guruji. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Guruji, one more question from my side.
Yeah. Yes.
Just since Jessica Madam has narrated this story of Ajamila,
Yeah.
I was asking regarding this crocodile and Gajendra story, where crocodile and Gajendra, he drags him inside the water and he remembers Lord Vishnu
Yes.
and
Yeah.
my
This is
just
in
curiosity
the
was,
8th canto.
yeah. So my just curiosity was that this story is created out of the two animals. One is Gajendra and another is crocodile. I wonder how this story came into light. With somewhere there is incarnation of God, or in another story, powerful demons are there. Therefore, people know those things. But how this story where two animals are there? However, this story is very popular also.
It is there in the Bhagavatam. This
Okay.
story is actually there in the Bhagavatam, and actually Gajendra is not an ordinary person.
Okay.
Gajendra in his previous life was Indradyumna Maharaj. He was a very, very great devotee actually. And yeah, he does one mistake, a small mistake, and he offends one, I guess it is Angira Muni or someone. So he offends him. So then the Rishi curses him
Oh.
that you are behaving like an elephant, so you become an elephant. So therefore he becomes that elephant.
Okay.
So
Okay.
why this Gajendra was able to remember the Supreme Lord? It doesn't happen with every animal.
Yeah, that's
But animals, they don't have that much advanced consciousness.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
Yesterday we discussed about Bharat Maharaj. Even in the body of a deer, he was having the consciousness of his previous life. So this is special case. Usually animals cannot go.
Yeah,
They can't perform bhakti. They are in a mode of ignorance. They are covered by tamoguna very much. So it is not possible. But there are exceptions where someone has performed lot of devotion in the previous life, but accidentally due to some mistake, he has become a human. So Gajendra also was actually he was in like animal consciousness. Okay, but it was all orchestrated by the Supreme Lord because Krishna wanted Gajendra, who is Indrajumna Maharaj, who is actually in the body of Gajendra. He wanted to come back to Vaikuntha. So he's seeing that this Gajendra is wasting time. He's enjoying with his wives and children in the Sarovar and everything. So he arranged this Leela. And then what happens is Gajendra, when he was caught up with the crocodile, so Gajendra thought this crocodile I can very easily come out. What is there? It was thinking, it was trying because it was very, very huge. This Gajendra is not like our elephant. It is like very, very huge elephant of Satyuga. So very huge. So it thought I can kill off this crocodile, but it could not. It tried with all its energy, but it did not. So finally, then a remembrance came to the mind of Gajendra of his previous devotion. Then he remembered the Supreme Lord. Arey, Supreme Lord is there. He can save me. So then it called out for Krishna, Vishnu. Then Vishnu came and he saved Gajendra. And immediately Gajendra transformed. He got a body like that of Vaikuntha people. 4 hands form like that form he has got. Yeah, and he go to the Vaikuntha plane and he went away. So it's a special case. So there are many reasons why this Gajendra pastime is being discussed in the Bhagavatam. They said it is one of the very, very important pastimes. And this whole scene was observed by so many demigods. Devatas were observing. Because that whole fight between Gajendra and the crocodile, it went for 1,000 years.
Oh God.
That much time. I mean, according to human lifetime. And then so many devatas. It actually happened in the higher planets. It did not happen on our planet. Okay. It's not on the earth. Okay, it happened in the Loka. So it was actually observed. What is this fight which is going on? It is happening for so long time. Then finally, when Gajendra called out for Vishnu, so everyone was watching. Is Vishnu going to come or not? Then finally Vishnu came and saved Gajendra, and immediately he went back to Godhead. So that is why it is being told in the Bhagavatam. It's very special and has got so many lessons. Only 1 or 2 lessons, but has got so many lessons. Very important one. Yeah, so it became very famous.
Actually, this story is narrated in so many bhajanas. It's very beautiful bhajana. And nicely, therefore, there was curiosity from my side. Thank you, Guruji.
Yeah. Are you know some bhajans in which it is narrated?
This here, in Gujarati, some gurus chant this. Pani pivan utu gayo sindhu ke kinare. Like that, it is very beautiful. Some of them are,
Yeah. Many songs are there. Even in Telugu also we have one song. Brocheva Revrura. In that they said, Aturamuga Karirajunu Brochina Vasudevudavu Neevu Kada. They said that song is there. Many places it has been. Annamaya songs are there in which it glorifies about Gajendra. Many people are there. Yes. It is very special.
जी धन्यवाद गुरुजी once again.
Hare Krishna.
Guruji, even Hathi Gajendra was prayed by a lot of sannyasis, and even has a Thapit Murti in the Sannyas Ashrama Mandir, where so many brahmacharis and so many pujaris pray to the Lord Gajendra. And even do Hathi Puja, live Hathi Puja. There is a place in Kerala, in South, where they do live elephant puja, naming Gajendra at that. Yeah. On the occasion of Ganesh Chaturthi, they do that.
Ganesh Chaturthi. Okay.
Yes.
We can close for now. Thank you so much for your wonderful participation. We will meet tomorrow. We'll go to the 9th chapter. This 9th chapter is even more special. Our Srila Prabhupada has written a separate book on the 9th chapter, Raja Vidya. There's a small book, 20 rupees book is there. Small book. There is separately writing, the speciality of, because that is a core where so much bhakti elements are being discussed in 9th chapter. So we'll see that tomorrow. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.